Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. Clear, clear, clear. The clock has started.
The clock has started.
5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Check. Okay. We're back. Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. You know who I am, DJ Mike Lamb, representing for Q.N.C. Welcome back to Never Compromise Media. And today, I know I always say this, but we have a huge guest today. This man does it all right here. So without further ado, I'd like everybody to welcome Uncle Sam from LFOD Radio.
What's happening?
Yes,
What's
sir. Yes, sir. The studio audience loves you.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. So first and foremost, man, how are you? How are you living these days?
That's a loaded question in 2020. But overall, I'm good. And just focused on, affecting what I can and moving forward in that light.
Yeah, absolutely.
With, momentary existential crises in between, of course, but
absolutely.
No complaints here. Grateful.
That's good. It's always like to check up on people's health, with the world going crazy. You just want to make sure everybody's like good where they at,
Yeah, we're good today.
We're good today. That's what's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Well, the first question I gotta ask, Uncle Sam, where did that name come from? I love it, but what's the story behind that?
The short story is my name is Sam, and I threw the word uncle in front of it. The long story is the original Uncle Sam was actually, before it was turned into a monster propaganda machine, he was this farmer in upstate New York who literally supplied the Revolutionary Army with beef and, sustenance during the war. Yeah.
Wow.
And so he would mark the barrels that he shipped down U.S. for United States, but that was still kind of early, so they just started calling him Uncle Sam, and it grew from there. I was like, that's kind of cool, because I try to be motivational and like push inspiration and stuff, so I was like, if I can, fuel a fire behind sort of a creative revolution, then let's go with that. So yeah, that's more or less where it came from.
I love that. I love how you can kind of combine history with what your passion is, you know what I mean? That's massive, dude.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you're an industry veteran now. You've been around for a while. I would say that. I think that's safe to say. But let's go back to day one. Let's go back to what got you into the radio, what got you into music, and like being involved with the culture.
Cool. So, music pretty much goes back to my childhood. I'm lucky to have a musical family, one that appreciates it, one that plays. So it's always been a part of my life. I started, as long as I can remember, I've always been writing in some way. I like words quite a bit, and I'm a drummer too. So it's pretty heavy on the drums. And then when I got into hip hop, it just made sense because patterns and words and wordplay, it all just kind of was in my wheelhouse. And then I started really taking it seriously, a number of years ago when I got to Boston. And one thing I noticed really quickly is there was a ton of artists and a ton of talented artists, but no infrastructure really for them. Right. I think, 88 at night, 88.9, shout out to them on Emerson. They had just shut down, and there was, Overdog Radio was around, and there were a number of other people. I don't want to leave people out because it was a little bit ago. And I was like, I could contribute in this way. I also noticed, like, not all artists, but there's like a level of entitlement. Like, I'm good, people should give me things. And I've never really had that attitude. So I was like, I want to give back before I start asking people to just support me for being me. And I still, I don't think I asked too much, but I was like, I can tap in and do this radio program. So I started doing that. It started out as just a way to play people's records on the radio. and then it grew into my first guest was my guy Bakari JB, who was one of the first artists I was working with, as a musician too, and brought him on. That went well, and I was like, oh, we can do interviews and stuff too. I like just talking to people, so it kind of grew to be a podcast from there, but with FM roots, and just a way to give back, man. I think you're either a giver or a taker, and I'd rather stay on the giving side of that equation.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, man, absolutely. And I wish there was more people that had that same mindset, because everybody, like you said, is like, what can they do for me? Especially when you get in this area, in this kind of community, and that's kind of what I feel like holds a lot of cities and neighborhoods and areas back, is that kind of mentality. But when you have people like you trying to like build it up, just being like, what can I provide? That's like, so essential to actually growth and actually like development of these things.
I hear people say too, like, they don't want to be used or something like that. But kind of for me, I'm like, I want to be useful. Like, what can I do? Let me know, So
the fact that you can like tap into these different areas and be like, what can I provide? Just only makes those areas stronger.
Right.
So I definitely think before we get into the radio, though, I am curious about your music.
Yeah.
What are some influences, or who are some influences? I know you said you did drumming, but were there any other influences that helped shape your sound, and how would you define your sound?
Okay. Before I answer that, I'm not going to do this all day, I promise.
Okay.
But that's something too, is only recently I used to really strongly keep the two separated.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to like look like it was like I was building something for me or to use. So there's a lot of people that I think found out I did music probably years after we did our interviews and stuff. So this is a new world for me, but I'm plugging them into it. I'm trying to be one person these days. But yeah, my influences, they're really all over the place. I think, and it's funny when people tell me who I remind them of. It's like wild what I get, dude, because no one says the same thing. But definitely Queensbridge hip hop was like a big thing for me.
Nice.
Like Cormega. One person told me I reminded them of Cormega, and I was amped because I was like, A, you know who he is, and B, like, yeah. So I really have kind of put the time in to study every kind of flavor that I've been interested in. So definitely QB in general had MCs I was listening to early. But then, I listened to kind of everything. I mean, like my favorite artist for a while has been, tons of Future and stuff like that. So I don't know how much of that people hear in it, but there's a little bit of everything. I really studied how, because the goal is just for me communication. So anybody who I thought was getting their message across clearly and connecting with people, that was interesting to me. So, and then definitely I've got some rock influences as well. So singer-songwriters, anybody who's telling a story in a unique way.
The storytellers out there.
Yeah,
I like that. Because a lot of people can just go for the beat or go for, a couple other like maybe superficial reasons, but it's nice to you to be like, nah, I want to go deeper. Like, I want to know what these people are saying, you know what I mean? And kind of connect that to your writing.
Exactly. And I did listen to a ton of like Def Jux as a kid too and stuff like that. So that's been cool seeing them, well, LP at least, start to win now. It's like, wow, like didn't know if this was going to ever happen, and it's awesome that it is. So
it's a beautiful thing when like the stars align out there, and things work out. I love when I see that kind of stuff happening. So that's awesome.
And as for my sound, I don't really I don't know how I would describe it. I'm definitely rapping a lot, but I've been dropping a song a month for 2 years coming up in November. So each one has kind of been a different flavor. I've been trying different things, so I don't think there is like a sound that you could say is mine yet.
Interesting.
I like to think I can dip into different spots.
That's dope, man. Versatility is key.
Yeah.
In this changing world, people's attention span is short. You need to just be kind of quick, adapting, variety.
Oh yeah, I've been doing the one verse and I'm gone.
There you
thing.
go.
Like,
That's all they need sometimes.
you
Man.
get 2 minutes.
There you go.
know?
There you go. That's all you need, though. For real. Throwing a good 2 minutes and you're good out there.
Right. There's not much sometimes more to say. Like if you can't get it across in that amount of time, you know.
You might need to rethink. You know what I mean? Go back to the
Right.
drawing board kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that a lot. Okay, so let's get into the radio, the meat and potatoes here. LFOD Radio, live free or die. I love that slogan, by the way.
Thank you.
How did that come about? Is it just you loving the Granite State that much, or is there like deeper meanings behind that, or what was the story?
Well, I am born and raised in New Hampshire,
Hey,
and it's always when people find out that's on our license plates, literally,
It's serious,
they're
yeah.
like, "Yo, okay, like you make a little more sense now."
right,
Like,
right.
So it was something I had a music teacher when I was a kid, and we would compete a lot. And he made it really clear that when you left your hometown, it didn't matter what was going on. Like you now represent that entire place because you're going somewhere. And when you get there, that's all they know is that you're from there. It doesn't matter. So you always got to put your best foot forward and have that in mind. So I kind of realized wherever I was going to be, I was representing New Hampshire. I had this idea of like, okay, let's do that right. And just, I don't know, live free or die radio sounded pretty cool to me. So it's a platform for independent artists, and I don't know what's more. Well, that's similar to you. You've got quality, never compromise. That's definitely something you thought about.
Yeah, well, like on our end, it started in the same kind of boat because Q.N.C. was just an abbreviation for Quincy,
Okay.
and we all kind of came from
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So and then we're like, how can we evolve this? How can we keep adapting and like make it mean something more than what we started it out as? And it just kind of, luckily enough, fell into that. So, we've been fortunate. But I love that mindset of like where you go, you bring your hometown with you. You are representing where you came from.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Whether you or they like it or not, it's a fact, and it's what's happening.
Exactly, man. And like checking out your website, you guys have like intense amount of content.
I have a lot of people that have helped over the years, and I mean, it's been, I would say, it's become fairly associated with me, but there's a lot of people who have pitched in. I mean, the most recent season, we had A-Ball and Amanda Shea were co-hosting, and my guy Thomas up in Maine produces the episodes, so he's been crucial in figuring out how to get these polished up right. And then most of the graphic design you see has been done by D Loops. My guy Casso did the logo in the past. Tasmania, Priscilla, a lot of people know her as Jija now. There's been a lot of people throughout the years who have been a part of it. Tia, Christiana was really big in helping with like the social media side of it. Tayshawn Taylor, and there's been a lot of people who've come and in and out and really helped shape it into what it is. And like it's really been a community effort because there's people, like I said, my guy Bezo, there's been long calls behind the scenes with all sorts of people. So it's definitely not just me, and there's been a lot of times where if it had just been me, I don't know, we would have kept going. But at the end of the day, it is my vision. So the execution at the final, at the last line is definitely on me to execute. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a ship you created. You're the captain, but everybody's kind of on the same boat. With you, pushing it forward.
Yeah, everyone's on the same boat, even if you don't know it. We're trying to raise the level for everybody,
Exactly.
and like all the artists, I would consider a part of it as well, because I know if I interview somebody or if we have a conversation that they're pushing and they are going to be leveling up. So the next time I talk to them, we better be on a higher level too, so we can keep pace. So, and it's a very much steel sharpens steel mentality where, we're going to put you in a room with people that are going to challenge you, and we're going to keep providing the looks. But if you're not keeping up, you're gonna recognize that, and it's gonna push you to do better, and you're gonna push us to do better as well. So, yeah, it's definitely a home team effort for sure.
Absolutely. And like that's I said, like that ground up effort is really how you kind of get like that organic growth.
Yeah.
Like you're that lasting kind of commitment to the message you're trying to get across to people. Like how has that growth and journey been for you? Like I'm sure you've been through like so many changes with like being around for a minute now. What has that growth been like for you personally?
Oh my God. I really grew up through this. And I give hip hop a lot of credit for teaching me how to sort of stand on my own too, and how to know what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, what that means that I'm saying it, and how to stand on it. And so I've really grown as a person since I got here in ways that are tough to tell even. And I've been just learning constantly. I feel like every year I'm like, okay, now we're really doing it. We were playing around before, and like it constantly feels like I'm like hitting a new stage. But and then you'll find this too on your journey. You're like, oh, this is common sense. Why wasn't I doing that? There's so many light bulb moments constantly. But I've been lucky to have some folks who I can call on for advice, but a lot of it, as you know, we're kind of, that's why it's funny you call me a vet. I've had some convos with Noble from the museum, and he was like, there weren't people doing this ahead of us, so like we kind of had to figure out how to do this on our own, and it's on us when people are coming up behind us now to be the people that weren't around when we started. So it's weird that I think we got like catapulted into this vet class kind of early, because there's not too many people really who've made it yet in that lane, so but that's been fun too, because there's constantly new people hopping out and giving it a go, because they might look at us and be like, they haven't made it yet either. So it's fun though. Again, the steel sharpens.
Exactly. I mean, I love how you said like you wake up and you're like, oh, now we're serious. Like
right.
you're never like complacent of what you're trying to be. You're always growing, looking for that. Like, how can we be better? How can we be better? Because like from where I am to where you are, you've definitely come a long way. You've seen it, and like you said, nobody was there to do it first. So that's like a huge like challenge right there. But challenge kind of creates character in a way.
I like to think I'm a much better person than when I started, especially because these convos, I'm always talking to people with different viewpoints, and I'm ready to have tough convos. I know I'm not always right or knowledgeable about things, so when I'm off base, I'm happy to hear about it. And there's definitely been, the whole world has changed too since I've started this. Mm-hmm. So and hip hop is it's a very expressive art form, and there's new conversations about how expressive you can be, which is different too.
Definitely. I mean, so touching on a little bit more about that, what are some like lessons or like moments that you will like that stuck with you through this journey where you're like, oh, like you said, light bulb moments? What are a few of those that stood out to you when you were like, I wish I'd known that earlier, but I'm glad I know it now?
Oh man, wish I'd known that earlier. I guess oh man, what did I wish I knew earlier? Just for me, so you said you were on the website, and thank you for looking at it. Yes. That took me a minute to put together, because I was thinking, I was like, we have so much stuff, and like I'd love for people to know how to get all of it. Just like almost little things like that, like little presentation things where it's like, oh, duh, like this is like trash. Why do I have it set up like this, or why does it work like that? And I think maybe the biggest thing that I would say is don't force it, because I think there were times where that's a double-edged sword, because there's been moments where if I had been less like rigid about things, stuff could have fallen apart much earlier. But at the same time, I think you have to be rigid at first, because like you said, with a brand and building it, you have to be very clear about that. But when you can start being more flexible, you might find stuff that happens. Like once you're open to more things, you'll have more things happen. You know what I mean? So there's definitely, I think sometimes I wish I would have taken different kinds of chances. I think it's weird talking. Some folks think I'm taking these major risks, but then a lot of times I think I'm playing it safe. So it's interesting to just work within that spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you're open-minded to see the bigger picture, to be like, maybe this didn't work, maybe this did, but you're constantly looking for where's that improvement, where's that weak spot, if there is one, like, well, how can I improve and make this better? And I think that kind of shows not only how like passionate you are, but how it comes together at the end. Like it can just come full circle, come like a complete package, and before you know it, you're at this place that you never thought you could be in 5-10 years ago.
Right. Yeah, and I did this that's been the coolest thing. I did this whole road trip at the beginning of the year, and like right into COVID, and it was cool because of what I had done. I was able to go to different cities around the country and just through music make connections, and people saw I had an idea what I was doing or talking about, and just plugged in around the country and was able to, receive a ton of hospitality, just off, the strength of what I was doing. So
yeah, I mean, creatives supporting other creatives,
right?
And that's huge. You
yeah.
know? So I mean, what city? I did see you did do a couple of big cities out there. Were there any cities outside of New England that really stood out to you?
In what way?
Well, in the touring way that you were going around looking at these different places, were there any people like, oh, they got a good community, they have a good artist culture? Was there any cities that stood out to you?
They all had their own flavors. So, I mean, I was in New York City, was the first stop, and did a bunch of stuff at Shrine in Harlem, and that was dope. Shout out Liquid and all them. They had a great community there. Live band, jam space.
Nice.
Excellent energy to start on. There's no place like New York City. And then DC, I tapped in with some folks down there. All Black Everything had an open mic. Jazzo was at it. They were tapping in and doing stuff. And I met some cool artists in DC. I liked Charlotte a lot. I met some dope artists in Charlotte. Sianka, Lord Jomonte, Ogbon. That was fire. Atlanta too. I mean, I'm on my way to Atlanta in a couple weeks, so definitely that was Miami. Every place had its own flavor, but I would say to me, I mean, New York City, of course, but I think we all already know that. Charlotte, definitely keep an eye out on them. And there's some cool stuff happening down in Miami as well. And Orlando too. Florida in general has like a lot of different flavors, which is cool. So
see that. I can definitely see that. It's a big world out there. There's so many different creatives and flavors, like you said. The fact you got to experience that, like, I'm happy for you, and it's like I wish more people in positions like this could do that. You know what I mean?
Super grateful, man. But yeah, I think New England could tap in well with DC and Charlotte. I found a similar vibe. I think that could be a cool little, and we'll see. Maybe I had all these ideas before COVID. I was like, we could have a little triangle there, and start swapping artists back and forth, and hopefully we see that happening still once we can. But I definitely am. The goal now is to connect these communities and make this national.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, so be on the lookout. Charlotte, Washington, Florida, let's go. I mean, that sounds lit, dude. I wouldn't even have guessed that. So,
appreciate you broadening the horizons right here because, like you said, you never know who's in a same mindset, who's like kind of like on the same wave you're on. So it's like it's awesome that you get to experience that.
Yeah, well, how we did it too is I literally just posted on our social media, tag your favorite artist in blank, and it had the state.
Wow.
And I didn't say we were going to do anything or whatever. And everyone we linked up with pretty much was somebody that one of our members of the audience tagged. And so then we went and plugged in with them. So it was pretty cool to, connect those dots. And then they knew, oh, yeah, I guess it was worth going up to do that showcase in New
Right.
Hampshire that time, So,
Yeah, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you never know what's going to land. So, like a lot of people, I feel like, think too much and they don't shoot their shot. But, like, you will, like, let's just see what happens.
yo, you're talking about that's been, someone reminded me of that recently. They're like, you told me a couple years ago, don't block your own shots. And that's been kind of the mentality because I used to do that. And then it's like, no, what's the worst thing? They're either going to delete my email or say no or ignore me, and I'll be in the same spot.
Right.
So
Right. Well, let's bring it back to the home turf real quick. For those who don't know, this man right here just got nominated for a Boston Music Award.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. It was the studio audience for this one. We need that
Come on,
for
guys.
that.
There they are. Give it up. Give it up. They know. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is amazing, man. So, how did that come about? Like, how did you just wake up one morning and be like, oh, I guess I'm nominated? Or what was the story behind that?
That is honestly how it goes. They don't notify you. You just you wake up one day, at least me, maybe there's, maybe some people pay more attention, but I went on Instagram. I saw someone post a list of nominees. They're like, oh, I'm so thankful. And I was like, oh, I should check. And then I went to the website and checked and found out we've been nominated. And yeah, I'm happy about that. This is the second year we've been eligible.
Congrats.
And it's the second year we've been nominated. It'll be interesting. They mixed the radio and podcast category this year, which is going to be interesting because I do think they're very different things. So we'll see how that turns out. But the competition's stiffer than ever, and hopefully we take it home. It's cool to be recognized. We've been, working for a while, and it can feel sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of artists and folks with platforms are going through this. It can feel like, what do we have to do to get, noticed? And so it's cool to be recognized, and that the nominating committee felt like we deserved that. So, now hopefully folks will vote for us. So
I mean, you got our vote for sure, man.
I appreciate that.
No doubt. I feel like that place is kind of like the academies. Like there's just a group that nobody kind of knows, and then you just wake up and like, boom, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I will say that because I know it's been really nice that people are not complaining about the BMAs as much as they used to, and they're doing a lot better. I will say, if you do have opinions, you can join the nominating committee. They accept new members every year. You just go to their website, and there's a form you fill out, and you basically just explain to them that you're active in the scene. And they have some criteria. I don't know what it is, but anybody who has an opinion and is knowledgeable can join that.
Interesting.
And I would recommend anybody that feels strongly do that, because that's how it gets better,
Absolutely.
And I think that happened with the hip hop scene, because for a while they were definitely out of touch with hip hop, and a bunch of people applied, and I think they, realized that they needed to reach out to people, and they kind of put the word out a few years ago, like, hey, maybe join this, and it seems like it's improved every year. So
Yeah, I mean, you always got to adapt. It's always a changing world, and what worked 2 years ago might not be trending anymore. It might not be hot anymore. So that's insightful, because I wasn't even aware of that kind of thing, but I'm glad they're open to having different viewpoints and different people in the industry say their piece.
I think there's over 400 members right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, I'm thankful that enough of them were like,
Absolutely, dude.
give these guys a shot. So
Hey, absolutely. I mean, well deserved, man.
So,
well deserved.
thank you. We're gonna keep doing whatever we do regardless, but it would be nice to have that, just because it can open up different doors, and then
course.
it's something to put on our resume.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Something for the trophy case.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do they give out? Yeah, we could get a trophy.
There you go. See?
I want the trophy.
Yeah, now we want the trophy. Yeah, let them know. Let them know.
I just want one though.
That's all you need, you know?
Yeah.
You just need the one prize and you're good. You
Yeah.
know? I respect the hell out of that, dude. I love that. Keeping with the industry, because you touched on some interesting things about being out of touch. And I know in New Hampshire, maybe it's New England, I think we touched base about this a little earlier. The community can kind of be self-destructive, I feel like, a lot of the times around here. Now, being in the position you're in, do you have any kind of, like, what's your viewpoint on the industry maybe in New Hampshire and Boston? And if it's not as good as it could be, do you have any kind of ways that you think it could be better?
Yeah. So I do think that's been the narrative, this self-destructive thing. But I have seen that changing, and I think that is changing. So personally, I just try to, speak about the positive angles, and I think the more that people put that out there, almost the more it can become, like, I think some artists hear that and then it becomes an excuse for them, like, oh, well, there's no support here anyway. Right. But really, I think the answer is usually work harder, and maybe it is small, like maybe you actually are blackballed. That could happen, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it's also not as much of an impediment as you might think. I think there's always a way. My only advice, I guess, for how to improve things, I think, is support the folks that are supporting you, and kind of goes back to the beginning, the giving and taking. And you mentioned the what can you do for me thing, but for example, like, we're a platform for artists, so I get it. Our job is to support artists and promote them and things of this nature. So I don't mind if people only hit me up when they have an album coming out. That's what we're here for. But we've had all these artists on, and I will say there are artists who come through and they're basically, you can tell that in their mind, this is an entirely on LFOD to make something happen with this. Whereas there's other artists, so we've been doing these Instagram lives every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's been awesome. I met so many people from around the country who are tapping in, and things are happening in these lives. People are selling albums. They're getting plugged in with videographers. Like, people are working here. There's other artists who, before they even come on that, if they know they're going to pop in, they send their live to 1 million people. They might promote it. After they do it, they screen record it, and then they make their own piece of content. And then now I have something new to share. So I think recognizing that if you're both creating the content and making something out of it, it can be like a ping pong, and you can it can really grow bigger. So, and again, it's fine either way, but I do notice there are artists who come on, and even something little, the ones who are doing a selfie in the studio or something like that, now I have something I can share too, and then you can share me sharing it, or, so don't, and when you leave LFOD, you're going to get a bunch of clips and photos and things like that, and it's fine for you to share them, and you can reuse them. This has been happening, and it's cool when it happens. Other platforms take the clip that they shared on their page. So we might have it's happened with Stiggity Stacks. He came on, he did a dance routine, we talked about a lot of stuff, he reposted on his page. 9 months later, he has another interview, they go to his page, they see that, now they're sharing that and saying, hey, this is what this guy's conversations are like, we're going to be talking to him tomorrow. So there's no shelf life on it. You can reuse it. It's content. Just don't give up on that stuff. You can always push it and use it, and just kind of show love, really. You'll get it.
Yep, absolutely.
Don't show it to get it, but show it.
Interesting. There you go. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, like, content is king in this kind of, like I said, like, in this fast-paced world where everybody's kind of attention spans are a little smaller than usual. Like, people just want new things. They want engagement. They want to hear what this artist is beyond the music, like who this person is, as a person, that human element. And I feel like you definitely do a good job of capturing that when you bring people on,
Thank you.
based on the the IGTVs and the YouTube and all these other interviews. You definitely kind of tap into more of like that personal side of artists. And like a lot of people can just be like, oh, just here for the music. I'm just here for this, But
Yeah.
like I like how you can kind of bring that human element to it.
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested in talking to whoever I'm talking to, and I just sort of ask what I'm curious about, and it goes there. And it's gonna be a pretty short interview if you just want to,
Right.
if you just want to hit me with, my album's out next week.
Right. Just a
This is the
shameless
new
plug,
video.
that's it.
Yeah. So
No, I mean that's definitely the way to go, and it's been paying off, as evidently we've seen. So you've been through a lot. You've seen a lot of industry changes, and like you toured the country, the BMAs 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And has there been any moments, maybe those are them, but any other career-changing moments that stood out to you? Were like, wow, like now I know you always said like we're never there, we've never made it, we're always looking for the next thing. But was there any moments that stood out to you? Were like, wow, this changed the game for me?
I think last year making the transition to having a like mobile setup. Before we were doing everything live and then capturing the recording while it was happening on the radio and then repackaging that as a podcast, but then investing in mics and camera and getting this mobile setup and being able to pop up at shows and chop it up with artists. And that was cool. Definitely that felt like we took a step because we could interview people, we could meet people where they were at and kind of hit a different caliber. But honestly, it's stuff every day. I mean, so the IG, for example, we had 2 weeks ago, this guy Terry Borderline on.
Shout out to Terry.
So you know Terry, and he had hit us up. He's like, I want to come through. And for any artist tuned in, you can come through whenever. Just pop in, and you literally drop a mic, and we'll pull you on, and we'll talk.
Lit.
And so he was like, can I come through next week? And I was like, yeah, we have Rex coming through. So
Shout out Rex.
just so you know, like, that's going to happen. And, Rex is the homie. That's cool to, like, even say that, and, like, that's real, Like, that was a dude I looked up to when I first started. Now I can shoot him a text, and we can, like, chop it up about stuff. So, and stuff like that is kind of surreal when I stop to think about it sometimes. But he was like, yeah, I was like, Rex is going to come on, though. So, like, when that happens, that's going to happen. He's like, cool. He was the first guy I ever opened to for. I'm a huge fan, blah, blah, blah. And then, sorry to blah, blah, blah you, Terry. But so he comes on. Rex came on while he was talking, and then he rapped. Rex heard it, came on after, shouted him out.
Nice.
They connected. They were DMing. They bought each other's projects. And,
Nice.
So now Terry's through the roof. Now Rex is plugged in with a younger guy who's doing stuff he's interested in, so they can build. And just being able to, like, create a space where that can happen, that honestly is probably more meaningful than most of the stuff, just that's my goal, really, is just create a space for creative things to happen.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean,
Connect the dots.
Exactly. I mean, providing that platform is it's incomparable to a lot of things. There's the business side and there's the stress with getting things off the ground. But when you see a moment like that, kind of makes it all seem worth it.
Yeah, it does. And similar thing with music, dude. I've had songs that didn't, by whatever standards, do particularly well, but I've also had one person message me and say, like, I don't think I would have made it through yesterday if I hadn't seen this video.
Wow, yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing where I'm like, well, this is worth it. Like, how can you stop now? So it seems like the world is coming around to valuing art and, creative situations. So I'm just, going to keep doing it, and hopefully that the world catches up to
There you go.
you know, the value there.
I mean, you've been a trailblazer from day one, so you know sometimes
I
you just gotta
appreciate
pave the
that.
way, you know,
Yeah.
and like shine the light, have people follow the road, you know, let them know that, you know, like you're about it, you're in the culture, you're really doing this, and like moments like that will keep definitely happening, you know, absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Oh,
So-
I'd love to hear it, man. The culture needs more things like this. So, and I love how you said that the world's coming around to more appreciating of like artistic means and creation. And I think that's true. I definitely think that's true. It's one of the few things that kind of brings us together anymore these days is music, art, and that kind of medium. So, you know, COVID aside, I know you said you were planning on a little triangle kind of idea. Did you have any more plans for LFOD, or was there any more goals you want to set for yourself to reach?
I mean, so with that all being said, this is sort of a big year where I want to solve the financial puzzle a little bit better. So that has been a focus of how to like level up and maintain our qualities that people enjoy, which are very, you know, grassroots and in the community. But also, you know, open up some revenue, which, you know, can get spread around. That was one of the greatest things about doing the State of New England Hip Hop last year, which if people want to know how you can, you know, improve things, just go watch the State of New England Hip Hop or listen to that. There's people who know much more than myself talking about all this. But we did that live at the WBUR Artery, and we were able to get a budget for it, and I was able to pay these panelists who in the past had just been doing it for free every year on our show. So stuff like that is what I'm looking forward to doing more of. But I will have some announcements shortly on some ways where we can do things like that. I'm in collab mode, so I'm reaching out to people who are ready to work, and we're coming up with some ideas, and it's kind of whichever one is kind of ready first, I think you'll see.
Yeah.
And I can announce, I'm happy to announce, we're not just on Instagram these days. We are on FM radio. We're on 91.5 in Medford. And we have a new time slot, which is going to allow us to play uncensored records as well. So that was always a big hurdle, getting clean records from folks.
Right.
So I'm happy to say, so it's going to be, we're going to be doing midnights on Tuesday, and it's going to be, you know, LFOD After Dark. We'll figure out a name, but it's going to be a mixed show. So stay tuned. I'll be announcing the DJs that are associated with that, and it'll be, we'll be spinning records. So LFOD.life/submissions, get in touch. And yeah, we're here.
I hope you all are writing that down right there. Make sure to replay that and watch it again, because that's huge. That's monumental news right there. I love that.
Yeah, we're just trying to open up looks for folks. You know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
really it.
Absolutely. And the fact you can kind of made it on the FM, that's like like you said, that's a huge hurdle. That's like the legitimacy just right on the doorstep, right when you get into something like that.
Right.
So I definitely think like keeping that same wavelength and that same energy will just keep opening up more doors for you. So I'm just glad to hear that, and I can't wait for you to be dropping that when it comes out. You definitely send it over to us, and we're gonna be listening. Gonna get this thing nonstop playing that thing. I love it, dude.
I appreciate it, man.
No.
Yeah, we can. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it, dude. Yeah, you heard it here first, right? That's awesome.
You did hear it here first.
Yes. So I always like to end in a positive note. I know you're a busy man, and you took the time to come down here, which I really appreciate, you know.
I appreciate the invite.
Hey, absolutely, man. So I've been just touching base on everybody and what sort of silver linings these last 6-7 months have been with that extra time and being alone and not having the usual hustle and bustle of the daily life. And everybody's kind of given a different viewpoint of how they've benefited from all this extra time. And I was just curious to what sort of things professionally or personally you've learned from this extra time.
Yeah, I do think that's, it's harder for different folks to find that silver lining, but I do think that's the only way through this.
Absolutely.
Well, through life in general, I guess. But The biggest thing for me is, so I was lucky. I knew I was heading out on this trip, and I made a conscious decision to not have expectations going into it. And I mean, I really didn't think this would be what happened, but I knew anything could happen. And I think I did decent professionally with it, but personally, it's been, my family life is better than it's been in quite a while, and different connections this year had already taught me that I had a lot of, good folks in my corner that I could count on. I'm kind of stubborn and don't like to ask for help, so I don't do it often. But when I did this year, and it was really, a good thing to learn. But I did use the time to just really check in on folks I cared about, and especially some family. I reconnected with some family, and personally, like, my mental health is, aside from the momentary, like, what the fuck is this even, like, is there a point to anything? Like, should I be in the street right now instead of doing this? Like, does music even matter? But aside from those moments, like, my mental health is for some reason in a much better spot than it's ever been. So I started doing a bunch of yoga and just kind of really focusing on getting my mind right. And so it worked out for me in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, mental health is very, like, understated, but it's so crucial. It affects day-to-day life. It affects your actions, and a lot of people, especially in entertainment, have been getting, like, hit really hard.
There are not many industries that have been more aggressively affected. And besides the fact that the entertainment, Netflix is doing great,
Of course.
but a lot of pieces of entertainment have been negatively affected. But also, being real, there's not a lot of money in it up here. So a lot of artists are also in the service industry, which got hammered as well. So a lot of artists are getting hit in their pockets right now. So it's tough.
It's tough, but it's like you said, silver linings is the kind of way to go through it. And, like, there's, like, opportunity to do better in every situation, I always like to believe.
Oh, if you can figure out how to make it work right now, you're good. Whenever, whatever. If you survive 2020,
That's a trophy for all of us.
Yeah.
Literally, we all deserve something for that. That's really.
If you make it through this year in a good spot, someone said, I was talking to a buddy, they're like, it used to be, if you can make it in New York City, you can make it anywhere. If you can make it in 2020, you can make it anytime.
Yep,
So,
100%, man, 100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on. If you want to
You're
tell the
welcome.
people where to find you, shout out any plugs you want to do out, the floor is yours, my man.
I appreciate that. You said it. The website's looking nice, lfod.life. You can find everything about us there. If you like social media, at LFOD Radio. If you listen to podcasts, LFOD Radio everywhere. If you want to tap in with me, it's just at Uncle Sam MC on everything. And that's also on the website. But lfod.life. And shout out to you, my guy. I appreciate this. I look forward to seeing what you guys build in the future, too.
Thank you, man. Man. You've been awesome. And live free or die. Heard it there first. Quality never compromises. DJ Mike Lamb, Uncle Sam, and we out just like that. One more time for the studio audience.
You guys were great. These are the real MVPs right here.
Excellent.
And we out.